Peter the Pervert. Okay, this guy was literally my best friend growing up. Out of Arturo, out of Justin, this is the guy who I had the most hopes for, and the guy that was literally my whole best friend at the time. Before I got pussy, this guy was my best friend. This dude was literally everything I was, but just literally a different person. So here's what happens. I meet him on the bus, right? And I start talking to him, and we start talking about Naruto, and we start talking about everything that Cartoon Network has. So it starts off with me and him going back and forth talking about Ed and Eddie, how we both thought Double D was a girl when we were young, and he's talking about voice actors and how Billy's voice actor is a biker and shit. He keeps on talking about all these fucking facts about cartoons. He was even more into it behind the scenes than I was. We were talking about Sasuke versus Naruto on the bus, Austin Rock Lee versus Gar. We were talking about that 24/7. It was so fucking crazy. We had non-stop debates about cartoons. We were literally both hella different. We were talking about Family Guy. We were talking about everything. He even told me back when I was heavy on Blue Dragon that the Blue Dragon game, he's like, Blue Dragon, the game was good, but the show sucks ass. And it was so fucking funny. And literally, he had every single game system. He had Xbox, he had 360, he had everything. He had GameCube, he had Classic Ninja on the GameCube. We were talking about Classic Ninja. We had everything set out. We were literally best friends. This is my best friend the whole wide world. It was so crazy. He invited me to his house when he was about to have a tumor, and literally it was so fucking cool because I got to sing Michael Jackson being in front of his mom. What happened was I used that ghetto shit back when they used to only have CD players. So I would literally take Michael Jackson songs and put it on a CD, and I would dance in front of his family. His family's like, oh my god, I love this kid. Exactly. His parents invited me over. They started feeding me candy. I literally love this family. They treated me so fucking nice. This is literally one of the nicest people I have ever met, but that was the problem. He had so much relation to me. So here's what happened when we got older. Okay, so let's start when we were little kids. What happens is this. The first time we have a disagreement, a heavy disagreement at that, is literally when this guy brings up Billy and Mandy, and I'm like, oh man, don't you bring up that show. He's like, and he's like, why? I'm like, I don't like it. He's like, what? You don't like the Good Adventures of Billy and Mandy? I'm like, it's stupid. And he's like, what? You ain't tell me Dracula and all that shit? Your mama with the Yo Mama fight, you can't tell me that wasn't hot. Literally schooling the fuck out of me on the... I keep trying to deny this shit. He keeps on shoving facts down my throat. And literally God sit up in heaven laughing at me. You don't like Billy and Mandy, huh? You were watching that shit every day. That was one of our many meaningless debates, but it was so fucking funny. I was so dead. It was literally good time after good time after good time, and we always had to literally keep it positive. We only disagree on one thing, and even if we disagree on something, like there was this one time where I was trying to fight him because I got him on the phone and I tried to tell him that Naruto was a ripoff of Star Wars. He's like, what? Like, Sasuke is just like Anakin. He's like, no, there's demons and shit. And literally right after that, we literally get the heat-ass argument, and then I call him right back. He's like, oh, my bad. He's like, yeah, I'm really sorry. Literally, all that shit always happened. I was watching Naruto and Sasuke, Rock Lee versus Kimimaro at his house. It was so fucking crazy. And you know, this was literally my best friend in the whole wide world. So what happened was this is like, what happens is we go to a different district, and I get separated him when I'm in high school because I met him in 7th grade, and I try to reunite with him sophomore year, and he became a changed man. Now, before this all happened, we literally had so many disagreements, but the disagreements would be solved within a snap because we knew that we both liked each other way fucking more than those arguments. And it was so fucking true. Like, he showed me how so many different video games work, how he's a Sonic fan, how literally the origins of Sonic, he was a major video game fan, and always would scream, it's a me, Mario. So we literally get reunited when we're in high school, and I'm surprised. He's wearing glasses, he's looking fit, and everything's all good. So here's the whole thing about being mature. Oh my god, that running gag came back with Peter. Peter was so fucking heavy about things change when we grow up that it wasn't even funny, that it came to a point where all debates became constant, and it went from only having a little bit of disagreements to having every single argument being a disagreement. Because here's what happens. So he comes across this anime called Fist of the North Star, and he keeps on telling me that it's 10 times better than Dragon Ball Z. But every time he shows me the animation, it looks like crap. I'm like, he was saying the story is better. There's a lot more complexity to the story, because the whole fact that the martial art of Mazo Tensei, Hoto Shinken, and what I'm thinking about, like, he keeps on telling me how he turns holographic. I'm like, if he turns holographic, he shouldn't lose the fight. And literally going back and fucking forth, debating with him why I don't like Fist of the North Star. And so his counter argument is, you don't like no manly stuff. But earlier that year, I was trying to tell him I watched Fairy Tail. And he's like, what? That shit, yes, the anime, that's a ripoff of Rainmaster? And so much fucking heat came out of his mouth as soon as I mentioned Fairy Tail every single time. What happened to you, man? I'm like, literally, this and that. He's like, he keeps on telling me how Kishiro can beat Goku, and how literally Fist of the North Star and JoJo are the best anime ever because they're progenitors, and we would have no Dragon Ball Z if it was for Fist of the North Star. If it wasn't for Fist of the North Star. But it was so fucking crazy because when I'm older, I agree that JoJo is hella cool because I'm into fashion and I love music. So I agree, JoJo is cool, but that doesn't give you the right to bash Fairy Tail, because I really love Fairy Tail, and he says that Fairy Tail is full of shit because it's not manly enough. And every single time he would show me an anime, it has something to do with toxic muscles, but literally, I would be bored at every single scene, and he's like, you're bored because you're not mature, and because you don't get the historical references of JoJo, and you don't get the historical references of Fist of the North Star, and how he's based off Bruce Lee and this and that, and literally. So basically what happens is this, he teams up with his dad because his dad takes him from his mom, and so what happens is this, Peter becomes a new man because his dad saves him from his mom, and he gets the view through a man's eyes. I'm still stuck with my single mother, and Peter keeps on shoving being man down my throat when he actually has a man in his life. And it keeps on pissing me off because we have two different dynamics. His dad went out his way to save him, and you're still acting like a girl, basically shoving shit down my throat that doesn't matter. And we kept on getting the heated debates with High School of the Dead about the guy that tried to like cop a feel on that one girl at the gas station, and he keeps on saying, just shoot the guy already, just shoot the guy. I'm like, Peter, he's in front of the gas tank, it's gonna cause a friction because of the speed of the bullet. And it's so fucking crazy. He keeps on scolding me how I have to be more mature. He would literally start shit and wait for me to get riled up. He's like, you see how you getting worked up over a cartoon? That can't happen. When you're literally insulting the only thing that keeps me alive. This is back where I'm in high school, where I'm hoping my best friend's in 7th grade. Literally, I finally get to see a sophomore year, and he's treating me just like the fucking popular kids, but he's doing it in the form of anime. He's saying your anime isn't cool enough, your anime isn't this enough. Just like popular kids like fun, my wardrobe is the same way. Peter made fun of my fucking anime. Or your anime is too colorful, your anime has to be more thuggy, you need to watch more Cowboy Bebop. Literally shoving this shit down my throat, saying that my anime is on shit 24/7. Well, you're the only hope I have left, and you treated me like shit. And literally, his dad was hella funny. Literally, I was having a debate with him. He was like, why can't every anime girl nowadays look like the girl from Cowboy Bebop? And why are they having exaggerated boobs and exaggerated asses? I'm all like, you know what, man? This and that. I'm like, why can't they look more like Erza? So his dad came in, he's like, no woman in real life is gonna look like your anime characters. His dad was the comedic relief of all our arguments. Literally, I was on his Xbox and I was playing Viva La Vida by Coldplay. And he's all like, hey, what's that song, man? He's like, who chose that song? He's like, Eris. He's like, Eris, you turned gay, man. He would literally show us porn and literally destroy Peter. Like, look at that, Peter. You don't know what to do with that. I was at his birthday party, and so this girl was all like, I don't like superheroes. So he literally comes out with a BB gun. He's like, you don't like superheroes? And he pops the balloon like, get the fuck out my house. But in all seriousness, his dad was a serious person. There was this one time where me and Peter went to a convention, and I ended up having an asthma attack on the way back home. And literally, his dad is yelling at Peter, because literally he's like, your friend had asthma attack and you were just playing that convincing. He's like, well, I didn't see him like gasping for air and shit. That doesn't mean he doesn't have asthma. So here's what happened is his dad scolds him saying like, you were having so much fun playing video games, you thinking about your friends and shit. I'm like, and you know what? He drives me home and his dad throws me to the side. He's all like, you know what? You're closer to getting girls than Peter is, because Peter's the type of person that doesn't want to hear girls talk. And you're at least willing to learn. You're at least willing to try, you know? And it was crazy, but you know what? So here's what happens with me and Peter. So he keeps on telling me to be more mature, but in actuality, he's saying that street life is stupid, that it's better to be a nerd, but he's only surrounded by street friends, and he hasn't been to that side in order to figure out if it's really full of shit or not. Is his way of living really fun, or is it being masked by something else? Because if you're willing to bash someone else, just like those popular kids, that means there's something wrong with you. If you're willing to scope, you're not a freaking sensei if you don't come all the way correct. If you can survive for outfisted on North Star, it's not that fucking important. Niggas can't survive around Dragon Ball Z. And there's this running gag that I keep on talking about girls in high school that I keep on complaining about why I'm getting no pussy. So Pierre's over here, he's like, I'm a virgin, I'm not complaining. I'm like, dude, you have friends, you have books, you have perspective, you have so much more tools than me, you have twice as many game systems as me. And I figured out when I'm older, but when I'm younger, I'm like, you know what, Pierre got a point. I am kind of complaining when it could be worse, when he hasn't even seen how it could be worse. When I was homeless, I'm gonna save that for later on in the video. Okay, so anyways, so it comes down to the fact that I drop out of community college and Pierre texts me, he's like, you can't keep on boring me with your personal problems because of you need to just adapt. I'm sorry, but you need to figure out what your career is gonna be. I knew what my career was gonna be. I was distracted by people fucking with me and pussy. And it literally, the devil is in my ear trying to defend Peter. And literally, me and Peter both made an agreement that we were gonna challenge each other because he wanted to become a mangaka guy and I wanted to become a mangaka guy, and we were literally gonna compete until he lost my friendship. And he lost my friendship because he was flexing that he was more mature because he was in Job Corps, and the devil's excuse is he's doing something at all. He's doing something at all. Peter keeps on getting cocky and he's getting better at his career. He's getting better at drawing than me. He keeps on telling me why I'm too busy complaining instead of working on my art, because he's able to draw on the computer. He's using Adobe Illustrator. He's literally using Particle Studio, advancing in 3D animation, advancing in his personal career. And literally, he's like, that's what happens. You gotta choose your side, you know. I'm not getting pussy either, but I'm getting better at my personal career. Well, you keep complaining, ha ha ha. So here's what happens. Because he's in Job Corps is when he finally got to community college is when I got to smack him. So basically, Pierre has this one-dimensionality saying that he doesn't like Shippuden and he only likes Part 1 Naruto because Part 1 Naruto is easier to understand. I keep on trying to tell him the reason why you don't like Shippuden is because it's way more complex and they made it for people who are popular and they didn't make it for people who want things to stay the same. That's why it became a whole lot more gossip. That's why you got the scene with Sakura and Naruto said, fuck that, you're only doing that because Sasuke isn't here. I tried to explain all that shit to him. He had the audacity to say that Naruto and Sasuke are gay. And I'm like, why are Naruto and Sasuke gay when they both have kids? And so literally I told him that they don't make it for white boys, and he's all like, dude, what does that have to do with the race? And this is why I knew Pierre had a mental problem, because he literally drove away from the subject, and I tried to tell him they don't make it for white boys. And so he's all like, oh, it doesn't matter about the race, we all have struggles. And he's like, give me one example. And I'm like, Tsunade. Tsunade has hella money, she has hella fortune and fame. She is literally the daughter of the first Hokage. But what does she also have? A missing brother and a missing husband. And Pierre gets shunned. And literally, I start talking about how people think Obito got friend zoned, but really, he got crushed by a bunch of rocks. And literally told Kakashi to protect Rin, and Kakashi is the one who ends up killing Rin. And I tell him that's like your little brother stabbing your little sister in real life. I was literally trying to tell him, Peter, you need to see it from the other side of the field. Not all girls that are pretty don't have personalities. Not every everyone that wears baggy jeans is a bad person. And Robert taught me that, and so many different girls I went out with taught me that you at least have to try. So I lied to Peter, and I said that I agreed to watch My Little Pony with a girl if she watches one of my rap AMVs. And so she expected the rap AMV. I literally text Peter this big ass lie that me and this girl lay in the bed with each other, and instead of just a random anime fight scene with a Linkin Park song, what happens is she sees lip sync, she sees them dancing on beat, she sees all the clips matching. And so I tried to tell him, like, so I ended up watching My Little Pony, and it ended up being hella fucking funny, like One Punch Man. And he keeps on dick riding One Punch Man when he wasn't ready to read the manga, but as soon as the anime came out, he was dick riding it. I'm like, cause your mind thinks simple, Pierre. You want people to literally spell shit out for you when you have to look at the situation. You're not relating yourself to the situation, so you don't know why Naruto is and why it isn't real. Why believe it doesn't work, but why it works because of his position, because his dad is a prodigy, and it's fucking genetics. So here's what happens. So I keep on telling Peter, so I hear that he's complaining a little bit, but it's not escalating. But by the time I text him, it did escalate. So I tell him, before this all escalates, that when your friends start getting wives and girlfriends before you, it's gonna eat you up inside, just like it ate me up inside when I was in high school. All I did was talk about anime. I had nothing else to fall back on. It's gonna eat you up inside. And here's what happens. One of his friends has a girlfriend over, and he tries to force himself on his friend's girl. And word comes out to me, so I decide to fuck with him. I'm all like, yo, bro, I'm here, you're getting all the girls in community college. So I start fucking with him even more. It's like, man, I love the girls at Chabot. They're all short and stacked. They're all tan, like modern anime girls, right? And I let her rip up here. I'm like, you really think after you talking about pussy being petty throughout my years in high school, now when it finally happens to you, you crumple and you resort to forcing yourself on women? Oh no, I'll let him have it. And so I start horrifying Peter. I'm like, so he smacks it over and over and over again. And you tried to call it out and tried to say it was harassment when you figured out he was his woman. And so he smacks her ass even more for 25 minutes and made you cry inside. I'm like, newsflash, buddy, when other people do it, they have a right to. And I told him, if you don't want the repeating gift get stuck in your head all day, then don't look at the jiggle. I start roasting him. I'm all like, you complain that I have to ignore people, but when people start roasting you, you turn from Ken to a Barbie doll real quick. A horrified Pierre, and after I revealed the truth that he got his first slap marathon in front of his face, after he said that bitches weren't shit, and after he was crying inside, and after he got jealous that he tried to force it on a girl, that guy had the right to slap her ass because that was his girlfriend, and Peter tried to say it was harassment. And Peter got a wake-up call. This is what you call socializing, buddy. And this is why when you're a job corps, it's a controlled environment. What happens when you're in a free environment? When you don't know that we live in a concrete jungle and they're going monkey ape shit on their girl and you're getting jealous. And guess what? Not only do they have fat asses, they have personalities too. They're using shit that you can't do. Hey, I bet you're jealous of how he says that word. I bet you're even jealous of how they're all talking about hip-hop when you thought you were gonna be content just being an anime and they're right. No, you have to adapt. So you got the feats on paper, you got the responsibility down, but how about the character? And so after I've proven him wrong, I'm like, you know what, Peter? I've been there, done that. I'm still willing to be your friend. All I have to do is get an apology, and he never texts me ever again. I even go to the psych ward one time and try calling him to try to tell Peter, hey, what's up? You know, we still been through the same thing. You know I'm still trying to be your friend, even though you blocked my number because it's bullshit that you cut ties with me after you were my best friend since 7th grade. And literally, so that's the last time I get to talk to him. And then I end up living in the same city as him as soon as I get out of the psych ward, and we literally live one street down from each other, and that's why I never saw him ever again. When I needed you the most, Peter, when I was homeless, when you could have hung out with me every day because I know your ass is in special ed and you don't get that much homework, even if you're in community college, get the fuck out. He lost his one chance to ever be my friend again because he just didn't want to admit that he was wrong. So who was the real child?